Mhm. Vo sammatva iha mrityur dropo yad Brahma sandharanya jitasu ke varam yoga rato vichad yad agran nir vira shanye nirvitaha vo vo sam vo samatva yamrito dropo yad brahma sandaranyad jitasu keva Varam yoga rato vidyadad yad agranir virya shaye nirvata davota samatva yamartav dropo yad brahma sandaranya jita sahu Kalevaram yoga rato vijayad yad agranir vira shanye nir vertan. Would anybody on Zoom like to chant that verse?
Samatav iha mrityu darapau yad brahma sandharanaya jitasu kalevaram yoga rato vijahyad yad agranir vira shaye nivrittaha.
Thank you. Okay. Synonyms: devote to, samoto, proved by the Shastra, and great personalities. Iha, in this world. Pure death. Uh, Durapo, extremely rare, yet which Brahma Sandra Ranaya, with concentration on Brahma, Paramatma, or Parabrahman Krishna. Jita Ashu, controlling the mind and senses. Kaliyavaram, the body. Yoga Rata, being engaged in the performance of yoga. Vijayat, one may leave, yet which agra granir not he, taking the lead. Virya Shaye on the battlefield. Ani Virtaha, not turning back. Okay. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation. There are two ways to meet a glorious death, and both are very rare. One is to die after performing mystic yoga, especially bhakti yoga, by which one can control the mind and living force, and die absorbed in thought of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The second is to die on the battlefield, leading the army and never showing one's back. These two kinds of death are recommended in the Shastra as glorious. Purport. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purports of the 6th canto, 10th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled The Battle Between the Demigods and Vritrasura. So I have some notes on this verse that made me think about this verse that I'll read first, and then if I run out of things to talk about, then I'll read the chapter summary for chapter. Om Timirandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshuramitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Gadad Mayam Dadanti Swapadantikam Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaur Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Panchakalpa Turubhyascha, Kripa Sindhu Vyevata, Patitanam Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. So, Translation once more. There are two ways to meet a glorious death, and both are very rare. One is to die after performing mystic yoga, especially bhakti yoga, by which one can control the mind and living force and die absorbed in thought of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The second is to die in the battlefield, leaving the army and never showing one's back. These are the two kinds of death recommended in the Shastra as glorious. So yesterday I was listening to this lecture um, by Tamal Krishna Goswami. It was on the glories of book distribution. And he was describing this point, how Srila Prabhupada was stressing that he wanted to die in the battlefield. And he kept saying, I do not want to die in some like fancy like hotel lying in my bed. No, I want to die in the battlefield. I want to die fighting, preaching. So this was just like really going through my mind when I was reading this verse that yeah, the glorious death of a bhakti yogi is to die in the battlefield. Um, and even like if you look at it, the, the death of dying in battle through the lens of like actually fighting in a battle, like what's happening in this part of the Bhagavatam, then we can see how yeah, we can like look at it through those eyes as well. Like so many classic examples in Mahabharata, which is like the great battle of history, um, where yeah, this instruction comes up so many times. Like the glorious death of dying in the battlefield means that you get to enjoy in the heavenly planets for so many years with exalted personalities like Lord Brahma or Indra, or like the great forefathers like Bhishma and the Yogendras and great sages like Ritu Maharaj and I don't know, with people. So um, yeah, this is the glorious death of dying in battle. A warrior who's fighting is like you get to go back to the heavenly planets and it's glorious. So um, best way to go is get killed in battle because then you attain state of liberation. Or even better is to be killed by Krishna in battle because then you go back to Godhead. So there's that glorious death, or there's the glorious death of um, like entering the forest and performing austerities, or as Prabhupada's saying here in the translation, performing bhakti yoga by controlling the mind's thoughts and then dying absorbed in thought of the Supreme Person of Godhead. So often in like the Vedic history, throughout Bhagavatam, we can see this example of kings who, when they reach a certain age of life, they retire and they go to the forest to perform austerities, and then they leave their bodies in that way. Uh, like, yeah, I mean, the example of um, uh, Maharaj Dhritarashtra, um, King Dhritarashtra, when he was after the battle had finished, he was living in the palace of Yudhishthir under his like care and protection, but he felt as though he was still ruling the world. And he, of course, he's blind king and his wife Gandhari. And then at one point in time, uh, Vidura, who's his brother, who has always been his advisor whenever they were taking advice, he was taking advice from him, but not taking it really, just hearing it about how he should give back the kingdom to the Pandavas and take care of them like his sons. But he was too attached to his son, so he never actually listened. So in this last stage of his life, Vidura comes to him and instructs him very cruel, like harshly, and sort of the way, like the point, not sugarcoating the situation, that he should go to the forest and perform austerities. Otherwise, you know, what to speak of what he's going to get in his next life for all of the sins that have been committed underneath his rule. So, so yeah, they all three of them go to the forest to leave their bodies and get that highest achievement of yeah, spiritual connection. So um, so yeah, this is very important. And then yes, Srila Prabhupada here just saying a little bit in the translation that yeah, you should fight in battle, never showing one's back. So this is also will be heard about in the previous verses. I'm not sure who is speaking will speak about it, but you'll hear about it in the translations. How someone who has turned their back on the fight and is running away is actually considered like the most cowardly thing to do. Um, and then these kinds of persons shouldn't actually be fought with. It's like in sort of the Vedic terminology of right, like the what's it called? The rules of warfare. This is like considered really a wrong thing to do, to fight with somebody who's basically like unarmed, who's not participating in the battle. Um, these things are like really cruel to do. Um, which is um, basically the exact opposite of what modern warfare is today. Um, Today, like the leaders of the armies or the leaders of like the nuclear weapons, which is like the armies of today, will like aim their attacks on those who are not fighting, those who are unarmed, like the women and the children specifically, until the point when the public is so disturbed that they'll like beg their leader, please, 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 like you do something about this, like just give in so that we can stop this suffering. I remember my grandparents were telling me this because they're from South Africa, from Johannesburg, and they were saying the history of when the British came and they took over South Africa, because originally it was just Afrikaners there. And then the British came in and they're like Afrikaners traditionally are just farmers. So they were living in this part of South Africa. They were just farming like their ancestors. And the British came in and they actually started one of the first Holocausts there before it started in German. It was actually done by the British. Um, Actually, if you look in history, British went to a lot of different places and like really like tormented people. Um, but it's not as publicly viewed. So yeah, anyways, they went there and they they just tormented like first they wanted like the Afrikaners to come under their subjection, but they wouldn't. So then they started tormenting the women and children and like killing them, putting them in the concentration camps. Um, they were telling some story about my one of my great grandparents, and she had like 5 kids, and they were all in this concentration camp together, and they had ground up glass and put it in the porridge and like killed all the kids like that. So, anyways, it got to a certain point in time when the husbands were like begging, like, please, please, like, oh, and please, please, like, just like we'll surrender, we'll do anything to stop this torture. So, anyways, you can see how, like, you know, partially because it's Kali Yuga, but just the degradation of even these basic elements of like simple warfare, what the rules are of these sorts of conducts. And of course, even in the battle of Kurukshetra, within that battle, there were so many instances where even these great fighters weren't able to uphold those simple, yeah, those simple, what's it called, rules of the warfare. Um, like in, what's an example? Yeah, when Arjuna's son Abhimanyu was fighting, he was fighting like went into this battle arrangement that they had set forward, and there was only like 3 people who could break this battle arrangement. It was called the Chaturvyuha, and it was it was Arjuna, maybe Balaram, and his son, and Abhimanyu. And Arjuna was on the other side of the battlefield fighting someone else. So Yudhishthir asked Abhimanyu to go in and fight, like break into this formation, and everyone would be behind them fighting. So he did this, and he's just a boy. He's like maybe, I don't know, 15 or something, maybe even younger. So he like broke into this formation, and he was fighting everybody, and it just happened at that same time that different fighter had been able to come out and check the rest of the Pandavas from fighting. And yeah, he was fighting like very glorious, like killing so many people on the side of the Kurus. And then it got to the point when they're like, okay, the only way we can do this is if like 6 of us get up and they like challenge this one soldier to fight. So it was 6 Maharatis challenged him and then eventually like killed him in an unfair way when he was not able to fight anymore. So yeah, even these great soldiers have this conduct as well, like to speak of like the average person in Kali Yuga who's has the ability to like completely annihilate an entire continent with press of a button. So uh, to fight from someone who is turned away from the fight is considered like a very uncultured thing to do. Um, and there's lots of examples of that. So we want to, yeah, we don't want to turn our back away from um, the the battlefield and run away. We want to like keep our we want to keep ourselves in the fire. So what does it mean for like the devotee or for the sadhaka to uh, die in the battlefield? Because obviously most of us are not like fighting battles every single day. Um, I mean, actually, we're probably all fighting battles every single day, but there are different kinds of battles. But uh, not fighting like a warrior in an army or fighting like in that way with lances and spears and mystic weapons, things like that. So the glorious death of the devotee is to die in the fire of service, um, or die, yeah, die like in the middle of like doing some service for Krishna here in the fire of Sankirtan, and you die in that way. It's like a very glorious death, um, because that's like the real battle is the battle between um, keeping yourself in Krishna consciousness and slipping into the material energy, slipping into that illusionary energy of Maya. So if we can fight in that battle, I have to stay in Krishna, I have to stay in Krishna. I'm doing service, I'm doing like this, and we leave our body in that consciousness, then that's most glorious because we're focused fully on Krishna's service, which is not actually super easy to do. It is, in a sense, very easy to do. The process of Krishna consciousness is actually very easy, but we're fighting against Maya, who's can be very strong. Um, so yeah, our fortune is that Srila Prabhupada's created a movement for us that has unlimited opportunities to do service. And he's written so many books that we have unlimited opportunities to read, which is also considered service. We can chant, which is also considered service. We can take prasad, which is also considered service. So there's unlimited opportunities for us to serve to the extent that we choose to. Unfortunately for us, we live in an age where um, we're also can be very easily susceptible to pride, illusion, madness, anger, grief, the and all the other, what is it, the six, uh, anyways, all the six qualities that are there. They're very easy to be enter into the heart, and they can transform us in a negative way. Um, and then we can get bewildered by whatever our Maya is that comes to us. As we know from Krishna book, and from Bhagavatam, uh, in Krishna book, chapter 18, Lord Brahma's prayers to Krishna, there's Prabhupada describes Maya as that which is not. He also does it in Bhagavatam as well. Um, that which is not for Krishna's pleasure, that which is not for Krishna is Maya. Um, and that can be quite a big category of things that which is not. And of course, that can also depend on the person's mentality. That which is not for Krishna can be like for one person it can be this, and for the other person that can actually be used in Krishna service depending on their advancement and their um, ability to use everything in Krishna service. And that's Maya's job. She's like a filter. I've heard my spiritual professor Devamrita Swami say it many times that that's Maya's job. She's like filtering out who can see Krishna and who can't see Krishna. And he says, yeah, you would like that, right? If you had someone who was like a filter for you, like, oh, this person's not sincere. You don't want them in your circle. Or like, yeah, this person, they're pretty good. They actually really want to help you. They can come in. Um, so yeah, in the same way, it's like Maya's doing that for Krishna. She's like putting up roadblocks to see, okay, is this person actually sincere? Are they actually like, um, are they actually good for you? Let's see. Oh, this person's not. Okay, this person got blocked there. So that's what her job is. Um, and death is like the final test from Maya. Like, okay, um, how absorbed were you that now you can remember Krishna? Or let me put you in this situation. Like, let's see what's going to happen. Are you going to think of Krishna, or you're going to get totally bewildered by all your family and your friends that are there. And His Holiness Srimad Swami says we shouldn't put money like on the fact, like through our entire life, be like, oh, I'll get to Krishna consciousness when I'm older, and then have hope that we're gonna pull like an Ajmil and then just boom, like Narayan at the end of our life. He says that's a very rare case. It does happen, um, but it's like very rare that that will happen to you. So, yeah, we have to practice our whole life to be Krishna conscious because at any moment we could leave our bodies. And if we're not thinking of Krishna, then who knows where we'll go. Of course, I've also heard that for someone who's surrendered their entire life to Krishna, um, and they're very sincere in the practice of devotional service, then Krishna actually helps that person at the end of their life. Remember him? He like forces his way into their mind. Um, I've heard Devamita Swami Maharaj say that as well, that if you've sincerely served Krishna your entire life, and when you're leaving your body, Krishna somehow like forces his way in there so that you have to remember him because he'll like force his way into the mind of the devotee, which is also very nice to hear as well. Um, and I just was thinking of this now, I'll just share it while it's in my mind before it disappears. Is one devotee was saying on this topic of uh, that we were hearing a little bit about yesterday in the conversation class that we had, is the importance of devotee association and yeah, leaving like having a good relationship with every devotee, even if it means, okay, maybe me and this person don't vibe so much, but at least I can cooperate with them and I can appreciate good qualities about them. Because she was the devotee saying, yeah, like you might think, okay, I'm going to leave my body in Vrindavan, I'll be surrounded by the devotees, or maybe I'll leave my body like in front of the deities or in a kirtan, something really nice like that. She's like, but what if you leave your body and it just happens to be right next to that person that you don't like? And that person that's been like super hard in your devotional service and you have so much enmity towards them and like there's so much in the heart, so much like yeah, envy and pride towards this person. And then boom, Krishna puts you in that situation where you're leaving your body and just happen to be in front of them. What are you going to do? What are you going to think about? How are you going to feel? So she said it's so important actually that we don't have that with devotees, that even if maybe we have a situation with someone where we don't vibe, we don't get along, that at least within our heart we think this person is doing such nice service for Krishna. We can appreciate them because you never know. Um, and there's a couple of great examples from Shastra of like people who have been in very high up positions and they just find out they're going to leave their body and they just like have these famous prayers like King Katunga, what's her name? Tonga, King Katunga, who was like a great warrior. He was fighting for the demigods for like so many years, like just annihilating everybody, and everyone was like, I want him on my team, he's awesome. So he was just for a very long time doing like this. And then finally, the demigods were so pleased with him. They're like, ask for a benediction. What would you like? And he's like, I'd like to learn, like, know how long the duration of my life is. And they're like, oh, funny you ask that. It's actually about to end in like 2 seconds. So he just like very quickly surrenders onto Krishna. He's just like absorbed his mind and like instantly it's just like, okay, I'm gonna die. This is what I need to do. Just gets into it and then, yeah, has a very glorious death in that way and sets a really nice example of like, you find out you're gonna die. What do you do? Okay, this is what you do. Just stop everything. This is the highest priority. And there's also the example of King Kulakshetra, who has his famous prayers of like, please, Lord, let me die now because I'm in good health. My mind is focused on you. I'm fixed on your lotus feet. Like, please take my life now instead of because I don't know what will happen in the future. But at least right now, I know I'm in good consciousness. When I was a fanatical brahmachari, I used to think like this. Um, when we'd be at the end of the year recharge festival, and everybody saw me would do these like rocking kirtans for like 2 hours. I used to be the kirtan thinking, oh, Krishna, please let me die right now, because at least right now I'm focused on you, my spiritual master's dear, and I'm with all the Sangha, the devotees, I'm in front of the deities. What a better place to leave my body. Please take me now. Who knows what will happen in the future? Anyways, it didn't happen. So yeah, it's these pastimes are nice to read about. And yeah, this pastime we're reading about now, about Vitrasura, is actually like also extremely glorious because um, I love this chapter, this whole pastime of Vitrasura, because I find it a little relatable. I'm like, wow, Vitrasura, he's like this giant demon, you know? He's in this huge demon body, but like he's a great devotee, and he's coming from like, I mean, not that I'm a great devotee at all, but I can just relate to the demon body part. He's in this body of like this demon, and he's like fighting this battle, and everyone's scared of him, but he's just like so fixed in his purpose, like I'm gonna go back to Godhead. And the way I'm gonna go back to Godhead is by this guy cutting off my head. So come on, just do it, just cut off my head. So I really like this pastime because it's really uh yeah, it's just really nice to hear about the determination, how it comes in different ways. So I'll just summarize so far where we're up to in the chapter in this pastime so that we can, when we move on to chapter 11 tomorrow, um, yeah, it'll be like a nice sort of um, going to the next part sort of thing, and everyone's up to date on where we currently are. So what is, just read what chapter 11 is called. Yeah, so right now we just finished chapter 10, the battle between the demigods and Vitrasur. Tomorrow we'll read chapter 11, the transcendental qualities of Vitrasur. So yeah, I summarized this part of the pastime up until now in modern terminology, I guess you could say. Um, so yeah, this is a summary. So Indra, he offended his spiritual master Brihaspati. He was like, didn't acknowledge him when he walked into the room. And spiritual master got offended and like vanished. Indra instantly was like, oops, made a mistake, but couldn't find him anywhere. And then the demons attacked, and Indra, because he didn't have the mercy of a spiritual master, lost all of his power. Um, this is what happens if we offend the spiritual master. We can lose actually our connection with Krishna, which is the most dear thing. So you have to be careful about that. So he didn't know what to do, and he took shelter of um, he like got a different spiritual master to help him perform a yajna so that he could get some spiritual power that he could fight the demons properly. So he took shelter of the son of Twashta, whose name I forgot, and Twashta's son told him from the get-go, like, I am in favor of the demons, just so you know. I might give them shares of the offering. He was like, oh, good, no problem. So he does the yajna, and Indra's sitting there, and he's offering, like, Om Swaha, Swaha, Swaha. And then he's, like, given on the side, like, to the demons. And Indra sees this, and he gets so angry that he takes his, like, weapon, and he cuts off all of Twashta's son's 6 heads. So naturally, um, Dad's, like, a little upset about this situation. And out of anger, he sits down and he's gonna perform a yagya, a fire yagya, to create a demon who can kill Indra. Um, and naturally, probably because he was a little upset, he got the mantras a little wrong. Just like when we're angry and we say things and it doesn't actually make sense. Sometimes because of the frustration, the anger kind of blinds us. So he's sitting down, he performs this yagya, but he says the mantras wrong, and instead of creating a demon to kill Indra, he creates a demon that is to be killed by Indra. And as we'll hear in later chapters, this personality, Vritrasura, is actually Chitraketu Maharaj from a previous life. So he's a great devotee, and this is his last birth. And this is the body he's taken. And he's taken this body because he got cursed by Parvati, and he offended her after he was joking with Lord Shiva. So, boom, out of the fire, Vritrasura appears. He's got like reddish hair, big copper eyes. His skin's like a dark color. He's got sharp teeth. His body is as big as the clouds, and his hair touches the sky, and he's huge. And he's very scary looking. Vitrasura. So he's appears from the battle. This and the demigods are like, whoa, this guy's huge. Oh my God. But they're like, we got him. We're going to kill him. So here comes Indra riding on Airavata, and he's like ready to attack him and just, like slap with a hand. Just like totally slaps Indra's elephant, sends him back like 100 meters. Indra falls off. He's totally bewildered. His pride is like completely smashed. And then they all get totally freaked out and they start running in different directions, like this turning away from the battlefield. And Vitrasur is instructing them, like, why are you running? Stand and fight. So out of like deep fear and concern, they turn to Lord Vishnu, as happens so many times in Bhagavatam. We hear the demigods are scared and or the demigods are, fearful, and they go to Vishnu, please protect us. So they did again, went to Vishnu, please protect us, offered these lengthy prayers that were very nice. We read about them earlier. And at the end, Krishna's like, thank you, yes, thank you. Actually, by the way, pure devotees don't ask for material protection, they ask for pure devotional service. But what you can do is you can go to Dadichi and get Dadichi's bones to make a thunderbolt, and then with that thunderbolt, you can kill Vritrasura. So the demigods go to Dadichi, they roll up to Dadichi's ashram, and they're like, hey, can we have your bones? We need them to kill Vritrasura. Dadichi, because he's actually a totally pure devotee, he wants to sort of play with the demigods, play with like old Lord Indra and get him to explain about Krishna Tattva and the difference between the body and the soul. So he's like, no, you can't have my body. Actually, I'm attached to my body. Why would I want to give it up to you? So then he makes him explain the science of transmigration and the difference between the body and the self and what the spirit soul actually is. And then, of course, in the end, he's like, yep, no problem. You can have my bones. I'm not attached to them anyways. Again, like another slight stab at Indra for being so attached to the situation. So anyways, he gives up his body. They take his bones. They make this thunderbolt, and then hurrah, they charge back into the army um, to kill Vritrasura. So now this is where we're kind of at with this situation is they've charged back in the army. Indra's got his thunderbolt, but he's like, this guy's huge. I'm not sure if I can actually do this. So he tries to attack him a couple of times. He gets like thrown back. He's starting to lose hope. And then again, the army starts to flee. And again, Vritrasura is instructing them, why are you fighting, like fleeing? Like, why don't you stay and fight? This is actually your dharma, your duty. So yeah, I think we'll hear about those like further details in the next chapter. But yeah, and then this verse, like those are two ways to die. He's like instructing them on the battlefield. Like you can die either by performing bhakti yoga in the forest, or you can die in the battlefield. Like that's such a glorious way to go. So yeah, this is like the summary, and then we'll read about that the rest of it tomorrow. Um, but yeah, in short, this pastime of Vritrasura is very nice to meditate on, to hear and like read over and over again, because it's actually instructing every living entity on a glorious way of dying. Like, and we'll hear like in the death of Vritrasura in the coming chapters, he was like in samadhi for how many years? I don't know. Like by the time it took for Indra to like actually fully like use the thunderbolt weapon to like capitate Vritrasura, during that time he was in like complete samadhi, like totally focusing on Krishna as Indra's like cutting off his head with this weapon. So yeah, it's very far out past time, but I think it's quite nice to hear about, because it shows like you can actually focus on Krishna in any situation, in any body, in any form, if you're in the right consciousness, which is like, yeah, really nice to hear. Because of course there's the great examples of like um, yeah, people who go to the forest and they perform mystic yoga, and they're like in that nice peaceful environment, and you can focus on in that way. Um, but yeah, it's also nice to hear about Vritrasura, of course, in that sense. So yeah, we've got about 15 minutes left. If anybody has any questions or comments, if nobody has anything, we can read the chapter summary for next chapter 11. Any questions from our live audience? You can't think of anything. Any questions from our Zoom folks? Bruce? Alrighty, so I'll read chapter 11 chapter summary, because I don't think they'll read it tomorrow. Um, Transcendental qualities of Vritrasura. This chapter describes Vritrasura's great qualities. When the prominent commanders of the demons fled, not hearing Vritrasura's advice, Vritrasura condemned them all as cowards. Speaking very bravely, he stood alone to face the demigods. When the demigods saw Vritrasura's attitude, they were so afraid that they practically fainted, and Vritrasura began trampling them down. Unable to tolerate this, Indra, the king of the demigods, threw his club at Vritrasura. But Vritrasura was such a great hero that he easily caught that club with his left hand and used it to beat Indra's elephant. That's rough. Struck by the blow of Vritrasura, the elephant was pushed back 14 yards and fell with Indra on its back. Indra had first accepted Vritrasura as his priest, Vishvarupa as his priest, and therefore killed him. Reminding Indra of his heinous acts, Vritrasura said, if one is a devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Vishnu, and depends on Lord Vishnu in every respect, when victory, opulence, and peace of mind are inevitably available, such a person has nothing for which to aspire in the three worlds. The Supreme Lord is so kind that he especially favors such a devotee by not giving him opulence that will hamper his devotional service. Therefore, I wish to give up everything for the service of the Lord. I wish always to chant the glories of the Supreme. I wish to always chant the glories of the Lord and engage in his service. Let me become attached to my world. Let me become unattached to my worldly family and make friends with the devotees of the Lord. I do not desire to be promoted to the heavenly planets, even to Dhruvaloka or Brahmaloka, nor do I desire an unconquerable position within this material world. I have no need for such things. Wow, it's a really nice prayer. I need some words. So yeah, if anybody has anything they'd like to share.
I would like to thank you for your class. I really appreciate, I like your classes. Very, very enthusiastic and energetic. Your descriptions are wonderful. You paint wonderful pictures in my mind and give me lots to think about. Um, you touch on many fine points that oftentimes would not uh, occur to me, and so I appreciate being reminded of these many things. Anyway, I'm just feeling very appreciative. I really like to hear from you, and I haven't really got anything more to contribute. But I just wanted to express my appreciation. Thank you again. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, thank you for the very grateful.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Bol Prabhu.
Thank you for class. Thanks, Taraka Prabhu, for sharing your thoughts on Madhupan Leela's class. So you were mentioning that, if we don't get along with some devotee, of course, we need to be mindful of the time of death that, this devotee might be around. So one helpful thing to do, you said, was to, always appreciate and this devotee and, have nice things to say about them. But for someone that, like you said, you're just not gelling with, what else can we do? Yes, it's nice, to maybe even confidentially have those thoughts, but it seems to be a huge obstacle in so many of our relationships. I don't think it's just contained in Gita Nagari. I think it's, just a worldwide phenomena within the movement. What other thoughts and ideas devotees might have, maybe not just you, the other devotees also, if they can share different thoughts and ideas that we can, carry a backpack, just like how we carry our books for book distribution, we can carry a backpack around for improving our relationships with devotees.
Thanks, Prabhu. Yeah, that's I think that's an eternal problem, and definitely not just in Gita Nagari. I think all over the world, within every devotee sangha yatra, they probably have these issues. One thing that someone told me, um, when I had the same question, because it's definitely come up and it's still current for me in my lifestyle choices, is to to do some secret service for them. If like this is what he's saying, if you're having problems with a devotee, there's usually something in your heart that is stopping you from having that full like loving relationship. Because really, this person is just trying to serve Krishna. They're probably struggling a lot um, with something, and um, yeah, we're only being able to see their struggles, and there's usually something in our heart that's stopping that. At least I can speak for myself. So yeah, this devotee recommended like, yeah, you just do some secret service for them. Like, um, yeah, one example when I was living in the ashram, when I was there, there was one devotee who became my roommate, and she was like super good at cooking. She was really good at leading kirtan. She was like super beautiful, super artistic. And I was just super envious of her. 'Cause I was like, man, she's just better at like everything that I do by like so much. Um, and I couldn't really tell her that I appreciated her because it just was like I was just envious of her. But anyways, I started folding her washing and putting it away. Whenever she would do it, I would just fold her washing and then quickly put it away because we shared a room. And yeah, I mean, now I can really appreciate her, and it grew to really appreciate her the more I did service with her. But yeah, like secret loving exchanges, secret services, um, doing it, yeah, like our spiritual master says, in a mood of like it's the service Olympics. So like, how much can I serve this person without them knowing that it's coming from me? Almost like, what is what extent can I serve this person without them even realizing that it's coming from me? And then eventually, just by serving a devotee, it purifies the heart. So those things will come out. Anyways, that's all that I can think about. Maybe, yeah, please share if you have some some other things you've heard. We've got Jagannath Pandit, Leela Kishore, E. Devi Dasi, Yashoda Devi, Agari, Jambavati Devi Dasi, Yashodas in the call. So please share your insights.
Hare Krishna.
Haribo.
Thank you so much for your class. You have an amazing talent for telling the story, you know. So I also appreciate that. Um, Actually, Yasodave said something the other day that really stuck with me, and it reminded me of something that we did many years ago. Jagannath Pandit may remember it, but Yasodave said that what he would do is just write down the quality, the good qualities of these, of everyone, and appreciate them beginning that way, because everybody has good and bad. Just depends on, as Ratnath Maharaj says, it depends on which dog we're feeding, the good dog or the bad dog. But I just really could appreciate Yasodave for saying that. Several years, many years ago, probably too long, um, one of the instructions that we had from Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj was to go around with pen and paper and ask each of our fellow devotees, Prabhu, what is it that I can improve? What is it that I do, that's okay? What are my good qualities and what are my not so good qualities? And he said to write them down, He said, because if you're hearing perhaps something that may be considered, by you to be considered negative, your ego may reject it at that moment. But if you write it down and then go back and read those things and reflect on them, even if you don't think that they're accurate, the negative things, think to yourself, well, what is it that maybe I'm doing that could give this impression? So it takes courage to do that. A lot of courage, I think. But some of us, did that, and hopefully we were able to reflect on those things and make corrections, where necessary. That's all I wanted to say. But that's a pretty austere exercise, I think. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. I remember someone sharing that recently when you guys, there was some Bhakti Tirtha Swami Katha happening in the temple room, and someone had shared that. And I was thinking, wow, I want to do that. I want to get that advice from the devotees. But I never got around to doing it. So yeah, I don't know. I think we should do it for an ops meeting, Dhruva. I think that would be a really nice exercise for the devotees to do. Um, but yeah, thank you for sharing that. It's really nice. And I also remember that example that yesterday Prabhu gave recently about the notebook. It was really nice. I also really liked that idea to do. It was a really good idea. Anyone else? We have about 5 minutes before the altar is going to open.
Hare Krishna. The other day, yesterday was saying how he keeps a file of his appreciation of devotees. I also keep I keep files for each devotee um, for various purposes, especially um, to collect my appreciations of them. Sometimes there's I just there's something that I feel like I need to communicate to them, or something something that I want to contribute in Krishna consciousness. And so I have files for all the different devotees that I encounter, and I really enjoy hearing about the devotees, and learning about them, and I like to inquire of devotees. I like to hear about their history. How did you become a devotee? What has been your history in Krishna consciousness? What have you done? Where have you been? What has your service been? What kind of difficulties did you encounter, and how did you deal with this and that? And because sometimes I have um, it actually doesn't happen to me anymore, but there were times earlier in my Krishna consciousness when I sometimes would have a strained relationship with a particular devotee for whatever reason, and but then at some point I would learn about their history and discover that this devotee is actually a wonderful devotee. This is an extraordinary personality who has performed some amazing austerities in devotional service. This is a very sincere individual who has sacrificed a great deal and has done uh, so much in devotional service. And the more that I know about a devotee, and what they've done, how um, Krishna consciousness, how bhakti has manifested in their life, I can appreciate them so much more. And then naturally, I just have affection for the devotees. Um, at this stage of my life, I don't really have any strained relationships anymore. I'm just awestruck by the devotees around me, and grateful to have the opportunity for their association. There's just so many wonderful devotees, and each of them is just amazing. They're all gems, and I have great affection for all of them. There's, they're just so nice. It's, I marvel at the fact that that I see these people that devotees that have all kinds of qualifications, and they could be doing all kinds of things in their life, but they've chosen to practice Krishna consciousness. They've chosen to follow the four regulative principles, which blows my mind. Why would anybody want to do that? Uh, Most people would never want to do that. It takes an extraordinary personality that at some stage of their life they decide, I think I'm going to give up sex life completely. I'm going to give up intoxication and meat eating and gambling, and I'm going to take a vow to chant 16 rounds minimally of the Hare Krishna mantra every day. I'm going to surrender myself to a spiritual master and do basically whatever he asks of me. Even I become his menial servant. I'll live wherever he wants me to live. I'll do whatever service he wants me to do, and that's an extraordinary thing. It's amazing. Every individual who takes up Krishna consciousness is immediately an extraordinary personality, just an amazing personality, very, very special. And there's immediately so much to appreciate about them. They're wonderful personalities, and in my opinion, they are each worshipable. They're certainly worshipable by me. I'm just I'm a fool and a rascal, but I'm surrounded by these wonderful devotees and blessed in that way. I love to have the opportunity to get their association. So just to hear about the activities of the devotees and and to contemplate what it means. Um, Sometimes, we for ourselves individually, we can appreciate our own sacrifices, our own difficulties and struggles, but it's helpful to consider that we're not alone. Every other devotee also has their own struggles, and they overcome so much in order to practice Krishna consciousness. Um, so many things to appreciate about the devotees. And when you hear from them or you hear about them, then you can appreciate more and more what a wonderful personality this is. So I love the devotees. Uh, they're all remarkable, all precious gems. Anyway, that's what I had. Hare Krishna.
Wow, Jai, thank you. That's so inspiring. I'm so inspired. I love hearing about devotees' glories. Okay, I think, yeah, we're gonna open soon. So thank you both for sharing, everybody. It was really nice to have your ritual Sangha. And see you again soon. Jai Ganjaran Srimad Bhagavatam Ki. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.
Radha Damodara Supaparthi